You think you know what luxury is? You don't have a clue what luxury is. Because you haven't experienced the Lexus LX Ultra Luxury trim. If you're gonna name your flagship SUV's top trim Ultra Luxury, you better deliver. And to Lexus's credit, it pretty much does. You've got your diamond-stitched leather, dual 11.4-inch rear entertainment screens, a cup holder cover that doubles as a central table that's coated in self-healing paint, though this scratch doesn't seem to have healed just yet. And then there are heated and ventilated and massaging second-row captain's chairs that recline to a generous 48 degrees. If you're sitting on the right side, there's an ottoman that you're not supposed to use while the vehicle is in motion, and the price tag is luxurious enough that you could either buy this or a sensible 1,300 square foot home in Iowa. Trust me, I looked. So yes, the Lexus LX 600 Ultra Luxury is a luxurious choice, unless your version of luxury requires more than 4 seats. If you want to bask in LX-style ultra luxury, you might need to tighten your friend circle. Alternatively, you could buy the somewhat less elite LX 600 Luxury trim. You'll lose the Ultra Luxury's second-row captain's chairs, but you'll retain its semi-aniline leather surfaces, plus you'll gain seating for 7. You'll also save $23,000. Huh. As we're talking about it, I think the standard luxury trim would probably meet my needs just fine. Nonetheless, let's see what it's like to experience the rear seats in the Ultra Luxury version of the LX. Well, boy, that is a comfy seat. I say that all the time, that Lexus makes a very comfortable seat. One thing you can do that's really cool is you can push the passenger seat forward, and then let's go ahead and get that ottoman functionality. Here comes the ottoman, it's happening. While that's slowly motoring down, I'll note that you've got some little storage options up here, but they're kind of hidden underneath this spot, so they're almost, I wouldn't say useless, they're just a little bit inaccessible. You have to really lean forward if you're gonna reach that HDMI or these USB-C ports, but you cannot knock the comfort. Oh, that is nice. And in fact, I can move this seat back a little bit more, a very deep recline. All of the functionality here for the seats happens right through this little screen, and it works great. Oh, and I really like the fact Lexus is always very kind to make sure that the center console storage opens 2 ways. I'm not one to be driven places, but if I had to be driven somewhere, this is a fine way to do it. Now, this is the point where I would normally hop in the 3rd row and tell you what it's like, but again, the Ultra Luxury doesn't have one. Let's let the numbers speak for themselves. 3rd row headroom in the LX is 35.24 inches. That's smaller than you'll find in a full-size luxury SUV competitor like the BMW X7. As for cargo, space behind the LX's available 3rd row is a cozy 11 cubic feet. For perspective, the mid-size Kia Telluride offers 21 cubic feet behind its 3rd row. But if you're hauling gear, you can always drop the seats. In total, the LX's interior is a welcoming space, though so far we've really focused on the luxury trims. Choose the base LX, and you'll get a 5-passenger cabin that's still adorned with open-pore wood trim, a 10-speaker audio system, and this 12.3-inch infotainment screen featuring wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, over-the-air updates, and a supplemental lower 7-inch multi-information display. One thing I really like about the infotainment screen is that it's placed nice, high, and wide, so it's not far from your field of view. But really the big news here is the lack of a remote touch interface. People like me who review cars had been complaining about that for a really long time, and now it's just a straight-up touch screen. One thing I noticed is that there's no home button, so you do have these sub-menus on the side, though, but it's just hard to get back to this home screen if you're, let's say, a few layers deep into Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. But overall, I like the system, as long as you don't mind a little bit of a lean forward to access it. Oh, one complaint though, every time you go to the nav screen, it gives you this little subscribe button if you haven't subscribed. I kind of hate the constant reminder. It's like when you've got like a red 1 on your Instagram and it's like, oh God, somebody messaged me, I should probably answer that. It's just a constant reminder. Stop screaming at me to subscribe to your navigation, Lexus Infotainment. Oh, and I also have to point out too, you've got this little screen right down here, this supplemental unit. Not a ton of action happens here, but this is a little bit of an interface for the climate control, and then you have a few little vehicle information bits there and some settings. So yeah, it all works just fine. Oh, one thing we have to do, we have to try the voice control. Hey Lexus. Hey Lexus.
What do you want to do?
Turn on my seat cooler.
Sorry, that function is not available.
The Lexus 600 Ultra Luxury is gonna make me push my own button. Did you see how hard that was? This finger is for pointing accusingly, not for pushing buttons. Moving on to the engine, all Lexus LXs are propelled by a 3.5-liter twin-turbocharged V6. Actually, according to the spec sheet, it's a 3.445-liter V6, but who's counting? I'm counting. For transmitting the engine's power, Lexus employs a 10-speed automatic transmission with 3 overdrive gears. Wow, what a time to be alive. From there, an electronic locking center differential distributes power to the front and rear tires as needed. All trims can tow a healthy 8,000 pounds. Fuel economy is about what you'd expect for a large luxury SUV, and plan your budget accordingly, this thing runs on premium. At maximum urgency, the Lexus LX accelerates like this. According to Lexus, the 0 to 60 time is 6.9 seconds, and judging by my carefully calibrated posterior, that is correct. Floor the accelerator in motion, and there's a momentary pause as the turbos spool and the transmission selects the proper gear. But once power comes on, it comes on strong. When simply cruising, cabin noise is serene. Our tester has the adaptive variable suspension, and you'd think driving such a fancy SUV I would prefer comfort mode. I do not. In comfort and even in normal mode, the suspension simply allows too much body movement. I'm a helicopter pilot, and even I feel a bit woozy driving the LX over undulating pavement in comfort mode. It's crazy, but this is the rare vehicle where Sport Plus is my preferred daily driving suspension setting. Speaking of Sport Plus, I know that zippy cornering is not the LX's primary function, but I am a curious soul. Let's see what happens. Huh. So what we have here is a fairly quick steering ratio that suggests sporty handling abilities, but if you actually do drive quickly, that sporty premise collapses pretty quickly. At least in ultra luxury form, there isn't enough grip or suspension composure to deliver driving fun. Nonetheless, Lexus does offer an LX F-Sport handling trim. If you've longed to show the world what real driving is all about while wheeling nearly 3 tons of SUV, now you can. The F-Sport handling version benefits from a sportily tuned suspension, a rear stabilizer bar, and a Torsen limited slip rear differential. I'm very curious how the F-Sport manages curves. Perhaps some hero will take theirs to the track. Almost certainly not, though. A more realistic outing would be into the wilderness. Oh. The Lexus LX has proper off-road chops supported by a range of helpful features including hill descent control, optional active height control that adjusts the ride height as needed, a range of off-road drive modes that operate in both 4-high and 4-low, and a standard camera system that not only shows what's around the vehicle, but also what's underneath the vehicle. That view is super cool, but it's also really helpful for picking your line off-road. And with that little innovation, the dream of the glass-bottom car is officially dead. Assuming you're comfortable dragging this kind of money through the underbrush, the Lexus LX makes a fine off-road conveyance, or more realistically, a great way to shuttle your squad to a long overdue ski weekend. Just for fun though, let's see how the Lexus LX handles this big articulation moment. I've got it in sand mode. Okay, big articulation. Can it get the power to the ground? Let's try crawl. Yeah. All right, let's lock that center diff and see what happens. Diff lock. That got it. Ooh, there we go. Yeah. That'll do it. Nice. By the way, I haven't addressed styling yet. As usual, I'm going to let you guys come to your own conclusions, but I will lament the departure of the LX's former split rear liftgate, and I will linger on this face for a beat. I should also mention that every Lexus LX benefits from an extensive array of active driver assist tech, including lane departure warning with steering assist, blind spot monitoring, forward collision warning with pedestrian detection, and an automatic parking feature. And if your commute goes sideways, literally, there are 10 airbags waiting to deploy. The BMW X7 and Mercedes-Benz GLS occupy a similar price spectrum to the Lexus LX, as does the latest 7-passenger Range Rover, depending on how you spec it. Among bargain price but less rugged options, you'll find the Audi Q7, Volvo XC90, and Lincoln Aviator. Or if you have serious off-road aspirations, you could stretch your budget for a Mercedes-Benz G550. Starting at $132,000, it is very G-classy. I wish I could also suggest the Toyota Land Cruiser as an LX alternative, but sadly, Toyota has opted not to sell the new Land Cruiser in the USA. Editor, hit him with that tear emoji. Even with all that competition though, I suspect Lexus buyers are a devoted bunch. They appreciate driving a fancy vehicle that also checks their pragmatism bingo card. Reliability? Check. Great resale values? Check. Easy ownership experience? Check. For some, feeling like a brilliant car shopper is the best kind of luxury.